The other hand is holding the box here, and just imagine it in your head. It's better.
David Thomas on melodeon, Jim Jones on guitar. These two members of the group Pere Ubu will grace WBAI's studios on the Piper in the Meadow Straying, Saturday, July 24th at 1 p.m. So drink some coffee and tune the radio to 99.5 FM. And make sure it's Saturday at 1 p.m.
The coffee train doesn't stop. Here. Does it? Oh.
And that's what we'll hear coming up right now here on WBAI in New York.
Montana, the year of the four, 1954. People are leaving, they're driving all night. Women are crying, they're frozen in light. How we roll on the river. And our river is black, the river is deep. Headlights and moonlights, a space full of grief. Secrets and heartaches must carry the load. The heart of the thing is the thing we can't know when we roll out the barrel. There we go, monkeys. Lo and behold, the night is too long. Road is a highway of right turn and wrong. Nobody changes, the truth is all gone. Bosses say everybody must go when we roll. When we roll. When we roll. Our dreams, we roll on the ribbons of our dreams. Montana.
And that's David Thomas on the melodeon, of course singing, and Jim Jones on the guitar. And I'm Edward Haber, and very pleased to welcome David and Jim, the two of you, back into the studio.
Thank you.
Pleasure to be here.
That's one of a possible series of songs that has the titles of states that you've done.
Collect all 50.
The two of you are in town with the group Pere Ubu, and Actually, the last time you played in the studio for us also was when Pere Ubu was, I guess, last touring?
Probably. It seems like a while ago, but it's probably 2 years by now, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Although, David, you've done a couple of solo things in town, and at the Knitting Factory in particular, which has been great.
Oh, well, thank you.
But the band has a new record out called Story of My Life.
Which I will now interject and point out that the true, actual title is Johnny Rivers Live at the Whiskey A Go-Go, but go ahead.
Right. And for some reason you weren't allowed to use that as a
No, it's not that we weren't allowed. It was the title. We told we were signed, our parent record company, Fontana. At that time, when we recorded this, we didn't have an American label, and I said to the boss there, I said, well, it's going to be called Johnny Rivers Live at the Whiskey A Go-Go, and he said, oh, okay, and I said, we were thinking of calling it Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band. He's going, oh, all right. So, then just before the art went off to be, formulated, I got cold feet, and I thought, I better not do this. So quickly dashed through the titles and the lyrics, looking for some, some substitute, and settled on Story of My Life. And ever since then, everybody's been going, well, it's an autobiographical album, isn't it? No. So before you embarrass yourself, if you were, I'm sure you weren't going to, but in case you might have, or somebody else would have blurted, the engineer would have blurted out, ask him about an autobiographical. I thought I'd just throw that in there.
The decision must have made with just enough time to give a quick call to Peter Blegvad, who's been on this show several times.
No, Peter was already. No, it's actually the donkey in front of the horse, or whatever it is, or the donkey in front of the horse. Wow. Cart in front of the donkey, or something. Wagon. Cart in front of the wagon.
Carrot.
I think that's what influenced the title, because we had sent the album to Peter and said, well, just pick something, because we thought, oh, it'd be nice to have some hits, have him illustrate something. So we sent him the album and said, well, pick one that you think your talents would lend to, and he did Story of My Life, and I think that was probably one of the factors of why it was called Story of My Life.
And for those of you who don't realize, Peter Blegvad, he's a great songwriter who's been on this show and performs in New York every year or so. He's also a great cartoonist and artist. And,
he has a weekly cartoon in the Sunday Independent, I believe, in London. It's really wonderful stuff.
And he did some really nice drawings for the as part of the artwork of this record by Pere Ubu. You do have an American label now.
Yes, Imago, the unpronounceable band on the unpronounceable label. A match made in confusion.
The band is a little different on the record from last time, and also in concert you're even more different than last time. So do you want to at least mention the configurations on the record? And
well, the configuration on the record is Jim Jones, Terry Money, Scott Krause, and David Thomas. And the configuration live and into the future is, I think, Jim Jones, Scott Krause, Michelle Temple, Garo Yellen, and David Thomas.
Okay, so what basically has happened is, I guess Tony has left the group. I guess you have a cello now taking the synthesizer
a wing deal
role.
fingerboard. Yes. No, it's the cello. It's quite an exciting lineup. We're sort of impressed with it. Our manager, after seeing the first show in L.A., came bug-eyed back into the studio saying, "This is the best Pere Ubu since 1979." And he was we had to calm him down and tie him up, but threw water on him.
Well, before we hear some of the things from the new record, and we'll also hear something later on with Garo that you had done earlier, but maybe we could get something else live at the studio.
You didn't warn us.
You
mean? All right. Well, then let's do SG. All right, I'll do the intro so you know. Oh, when I sing, the reverb comes on. This is kind of cool. I wish I had a little reverb unit in my life. This is a song. Everybody should have a Brian Wilson song to call their own. I used to have a Brian Wilson song to call my own, Sloop John B. But after years go by, you choose different things, and this year's model is this song here.
Little surfer, breaks my heart. Come on undone. Now do you love me? Or do you? The surfer girl, I'm a little surfer girl. I have watched you on the shore, standing by the ocean's roar. Oh, do you love me? Oh, do you? Surfer girl, surfer girl, surfer girl. Oh, we can ride the surf together, and while our love will grow in my woody, I would take you everywhere. No, so I say, oh, from me to you, I will make your dreams come true. Do you love me? Do you, surfer girl, surfer girl, my little surfer girl, little surfer girl. Sometimes the weird road from there to there to hither to yon.
Live in the studio once more, David Thomas and Jim Jones. And Jim, what have you been doing in the durations, sort of in between Ubu records?
In between.
What do you do?
Because it's been a
What do I
while.
do?
It's been a while. So David comes through town and does these solo gigs, and we could sort of see what's going on there. to a certain
I
extent.
lock myself at home and write music, and for whatever use.
And
Probably Ubu's forthcoming project. And I work on my house.
He's got a very lovely house by now.
Yes, and are you still in Cleveland?
Yeah, Scott, the drummer, and I are both
And
still based
Michelle.
in Cleveland.
And
And Michelle,
Michelle.
our new bass player.
Actually, I haven't really heard of her.
Salina, Ohio.
Hmm.
Small town, 80 miles west of Cleveland.
Yeah, I actually ran into Tony about a month ago, and he was telling me about Michelle and that she was a really fine player.
Yeah.
Has she been playing in bands in the Cleveland area?
Well, she was actually in a band with Scott and I called Home and Garden back in the mid-'80s, early '80s. And very good bass player, yeah. Very happy with her. She also has a band called the Vivians in Cleveland.
Which Jimmy produced the record of. Well, what? You weren't going to mention that?
No. I'd forgotten, actually. I'm trying to plug her,
Right. How long ago did that record come out?
That came out about a year and a half ago.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And they're still active.
Yeah, well, I really look forward to seeing the new lineup. You will be performing in a free concert, actually, at Central Park Summer Stage, which is a great series that they have, outdoor series, in the Rumsey Playground in Central Park, and you'll be there, I believe, on the afternoon of July 31st. And so anyone who missed your recent New York show at Irving Plaza,
Irving Plaza.
yeah, can go check you guys out on the 31st of July at Central Park Summer Stage, and it's free, so what could be even better? Before we get to some more live music, let's play for some people some things from your new record. And I was thinking maybe the second selection, "Come Home," might be a good song. And so why don't we hear that now? Do you have anything to say about that in particular?
It's 4 minutes and something. I don't know. Yeah. What do you want to know? I mean, I'm not being difficult.
Yeah, no, I understand.
It's a song that's, well, just, I don't, you know.
Yeah.
No, I don't have anything to say about it.
That was
deeper. I'm getting it deeper and deeper and deeper. Help me, help me.
And that song was inspired actually by some shortwave messages
really.
that our drummer picked up.
Jimmy jumps in
Spy
with the helpful information. Yes. Scott Krause is a shortwave DXer nut, and Jimmy is a scanner nut, and I guess now I'm a CB nut. We were traveling around on this tour in a rented car in a little bus, and Scott and I were mostly in the rented car, and we had the car all decked out with antennas, and we had a shortwave system going, and a scanner system, and a CB system, and we were completely Radio Shacked. In fact, I'm going to write a book about Radio Shacking America, which will be about, because Radio Shack is a lovely institution, the store. I know this is non-commercial radio, but I think this is such an institution. Because here's the concept, you know. The thing about Radio Shack is that they've got this button on the cash register that's customer does not want item. So, so what you do is, what we discovered, the true glory of this is that, you know, you can go into one Radio Shack in Opelika, Alabama, and think, I'd like this CB and this antenna or something, and we stick them in the car, you know, and
you realize
put
80 miles down the
80
road.
miles down the road, the antenna's not what you want. So you go into the next Radio Shack in Huntsville or in you know in Galveston, you know, and you take it back in and you return it and get your money back, and they've got this little button on the cash register. Customer does not want item. They don't care why you return something. You know, it's lovely. They'll just take it back and give you your money back or something else. So that means you can just keep going and getting the right thing. And then we bought this CB and then discovered that somewhere in Phoenix it was on sale for $15 less, so we just returned it, you know, and bought the new one at the lower price. And it's just wonderful. So I'm going to write a book or an article for English people touring America, and it's all going to be about, you know, Radio Shacking across America, you know, and it's just, I think it's a good idea. We're big fans of theirs. I mean, they don't make the best stuff, and their prices are high, but, you know, but they do, but some of their items are, if you know the ones to get, some of their items actually are very good. It's just, you have to know which to get. But the reason why we're happy to pay a higher price for it is because A, if it comes on sale, you just return the thing and get the sale item price. And B, if you don't want the thing and it doesn't work, or it's not really doesn't make you, this is the concept. If it doesn't make you happy, you can return it. It doesn't have to be defective or anything. It just simply doesn't make you happy.
Well, this may be the only place you could find anything with that kind of a motto, actually.
This is the glorious part of it. They have in their computer the setup, so customer does not want item. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful? All retail outlets had a button on the computer, customer does not want item. You know, you take this record back. You don't have to lie about, oh, it skipped on the third track. Or the CD back. Oh yeah, it's got a smudge on it. It doesn't play, you know. Customer does not want item. Oh well, enough plug for Radio Shack. Sorry, we got sidetracked with Radio Shack. No, but Come Home was actually began as Scott. So Scott just as always. You don't mind me just rambling on like this, because these are kind of interesting stories. Scott's house, if you ever go over, he's got this radio antenna strung all the way through his house, and this short wave going all the time in his kitchen, and it's always just static. It's like. It's never tuned into anything. And his family and him, if you just go over, it's like an alien conehead sort of thing.
Addams Family.
It's like an Addams Family. There's this hideous static going on all the time. Nobody thinks it's weird. Everybody is bending, you know, working in the kitchen, like bending under this wire and limboing through to the stove and stuff like that. So anyway, he picked up there's a lot of spy transmissions, which are codes. It's just a computer voice doing numbers like 4, well, you heard it on the tape. Yeah. So he just recorded a bunch of those and strung them together and gave them to Jimmy, and the song came from that, which is the end of the story. Sorry to interrupt.
Now, do you get any of that? Do you have anything like that in England? In other words, do people have that kind of shortwave, and do you do
sure.
that in London as well?
Oh yeah. There's DXers all over the world, all kinds of radio nuts. You know, I think we're going to call the next album Radio, but it probably won't be understood as Zero Beat or something like that. We call it. But oh yeah, I like to listen to. I don't know. We just like to listen to like airplanes and things. You know, it's really my hobby used to be office supplies, but then I decided, well, I was kind of becoming an old man. So now it's, now it's listening to airplanes.
Given what you were doing, this is actually the first time that you don't have a sort of regular synthesizer player in the group, which sort of supplied some of that sort of the noise that one might expect from someone who listens to airplanes in a sort of musical context has always been sort of identified with the band. And on this record, I guess Tony did a little bit of synthesizer playing, and now I guess Garrow has to sort of fulfill a similar role.
And does it manfully. It's quite wonderful, actually.
And how does that work then? I mean, do you miss the sort of idiosyncratic sort of synthesizer noise?
Well, no, I don't, because I don't miss Tom Herman, and I don't miss Mayo Thompson, and I don't miss whatever else, because, when Alan stopped playing music, there was no replacing him particularly. There aren't many people who come along with that sort of playing vision. I mean, we still like that element, but we're not trying to replace it or something. I think we probably are a bit more active. We're all a bit more active in supplying that sort of stuff. Like for instance, on Postcard, where I played 18 fuzz guitars and Jimmy improvised the backing vocal and I improvised the lead vocal, and it was all done in 20 minutes. And so I think there is certainly an indication of that on this record, and there will be more of that sort of broadening of the sound palette as we all take over that sort of thing. In addition to what Garrow did, I mean, Garrow got himself a bunch of pedals and things, and it was like a kid in a kid in a toy shop, and he's slamming these fuzz things on this and leaning the cello board up against the Pete Townsend up against the amp, and it's just, and it's quite exciting.
Since you mentioned Postcard, I suppose we could play that here. And were those all actual postcards that you had seen over the years, or
no,
just sort of conceived postcards?
No, I just wanted to link Salt Lake City and Du Bois, Pennsylvania, so I figured that was about the only way I could do it. So I did. That was the only motivation. Well, really, the motivation was that our English company contracts us to do 4 B-sides for each album, and we didn't want to waste any time on them because they're B-sides. And the previous 2 albums, we had spent a lot of time on B-sides, and I'd written some of my best words for the B-sides. And it was heartbreaking to see my little children, and some of the music also was some of my favorite music, on the B-sides. And it was just heartbreaking that they never got released, in America, or even in England particularly. They're just B-sides on singles that nobody bought, So this time we were determined not to spend any amount of talent or effort on the B-sides at all. So each, there were four B-sides, 4 of us. We said, okay, each of us has 3 hours to conceive, write, record, mix, and complete a song, So we each went in there and started whacking away, and Postcard happened to turn out okay, kind of, and it kind of supplied something that seemed to fit in well with they all turned out good, but Postcard seemed to supply some sort of a thing,
And it ended up on the record.
Yeah, to put a long story in a little box.
Are there therefore 3 other B-sides that aren't on the record that are gradually being released in England?
No, they're just sitting in a tub of lard somewhere, buried in the bottom of a lake. I don't know. I mean, they'll undoubtedly see the light of day at some point.
Postcard by Pere Ubu from the record Story of My Life. New record on Imago Records. Is that?
M as in M, Ago as in Ago, Imago.
Right, I got it right. And David Thomas and Jim Jones from Pere Ubu are our guests in the studio today. And can we actually convince you to do something else live? You were actually practicing one of the things from the record, Kathleen, which I assume that meant you planned to do it.
I guess we could. Did you think it was interesting enough to do? Let's turn the heat on him.
Jib?
Back Ed.
No, not you. I was
me.
talking to you, Ed.
I mean, sure.
Okay. This song is Ed's fault. This is a song called Kathleen. Maybe up-tempo it a bit. Because, and this is about a place in Cleveland called Otto Moser's, which is a bar down in the downtown area that is stuck in time, and it's about our lives, I think. Somewhere near, somewhere far, somewhere down the street, past a local bar, a shot and beer kind of homey place. I go inside and tell my story to a glass of foam. A poet and a heart of gold, Kathleen. Why don't you call my name? Call me, Kathleen. Call my name. Call me. No one hear me tell the truth. I lost the track of time and blush at you. A world that time forgot. A Skittle bowl, social swirl, bowl of chili, onion ring, the check on time. And the rolling rock, Kathleen. Why don't you call my name? Call me, Kathleen. Oh, call my name. Self-pity, it's a terrible thing to waste. I've dropped out of line, past my prime, slave to way life. I'm just a sort of fella to tell a story to. Waiting at a bus stop or banging on a desktop. I long to see you, Kathleen. Why don't you call my name? Kathleen. Call my name. Tell my story to a glass of foam. I pour it in Kathleen, call me, Kathleen, call me, Kathleen. Call me, sorry. Here I am. Call me.
Live in the studio, David Thomas and Kim Jones, and I always find it really interesting when you use the melodeon as a rhythm instrument, just for the sort of physical tapping, air pushing and pulling, not so much for the notes even, something like that.
Well, that's good because I don't really have much note control. I'll show you. Look, first I'll tell you. Listen, first I wrote, then I wrote, then I wrote, on and on and on. I'm a great devotee of 3/4. Love it or leave it.
Listening to that song, and a lot of the songs on this record in particular seem very sort of almost desolate or lonely or even more so than usual, but there's still that sort of cheerfulness or sort of positive approach to it, like on that song, despite what it almost seems to be about.
Yeah, that's I think that's pretty standard Ubu perspective, cheerful tragedy. Yeah, I guess, sure. I don't think that clearly there's much of the record is about what you've described, but I don't think it's self-pitying or that sort of stuff. It's just about people who are in their niches and they've come to terms with it all. I mean, there's a lot of tragedy out there, and a lot of people come to terms with it. Gee, I put a downer on this. I'm bumming bad. We bummed Edward.
Why do the stars twinkle in the sky? Why do lovers say goodbye? People say, I wonder why. People say, wonder how do men and women ever get along? People say, where do they go? People say, where do they go? People say, where do the broken hearted ever find it part their cars? Down Mystery Road.
When you talked about your ideas ending up on B-sides that don't get heard and some of your favorite ideas, actually what you did on a couple of songs here is take some of those B-sides and sort of revamp them, and two of them actually, Fedora Satellite 2 obviously, which Fedora Satellite was one of those B-sides, but also Louisiana Trainwreck, which takes a couple of phrases from one of those B-sides as well.
Yeah, there is a certain amount of that. The one I really want to steal back totally wholesale is Invisible Man, which I wish I could figure out how to do with just I mean, they've never heard it in America. We could probably just steal it from ourselves and claim it as something new. Don't tell them I'll go on the next record.
Well, couldn't you just put one of those on the record?
But you don't get paid more money for it. So a lot of that has to do also with the way. I mean, I'm well known for repeating themes through, and one of the points of repeating lines is not just to save yourself a little effort, but is that, through our numbers of many albums, themes and storylines continue across albums, and the way you indicate that is to refer, to another image, and so it's not just simple laziness. It is a continuing mini-series. Actually, Louisiana Trainwreck is more related to O'Catherine. O'Catherine used to be called Louisiana Trainwreck. And then there was a song before O'Catherine, which I can't remember, which was called Louisiana Trainwreck too. So, I mean, Louisiana Trainwreck, it seemed to me always a good name for a love song, and so I finally got it written. Wouldn't you call a love song Louisiana Trainwreck? I wrote it for Captain and Tennille, but I think they retired.
Louisiana Trainwreck, Pere Ubu from the record Story of My Life. And again, Pere Ubu will be performing at the Central Park Summer Stage on July 31st at 3 in the afternoon.
For sure we're being shoveled on stage at 3. Be there on time.
And it's free. So,
yeah, I don't like that idea. Stay away.
Okay, well, but you listen to the radio, which is free also.
But we don't listen to music on the radio. We refuse to listen to music on the radio. We only listen to static.
How do you hear anything other than what you know then?
But
musically.
Uh-huh.
You don't.
What, are you going to hear something you don't know on radio?
Well,
come on. I think you're being naive there. College radio is gone, for all intents and purposes. Standard radio is standard radio.
I won't argue with you about what you generally hear on radio.
Yeah.
But
there are exceptions, of course.
There are exceptions.
Yeah, very few.
That's certainly true. In fact, we're going to pull the plug right now and not broadcast this because what's the point?
What's the point of going on? Just listen to static. It's better for you. That's the point.
I did want to play something which features Gary Yellen, so I brought along the CD Monster Walks the Winter Swing, which was one of your solo things.
My favorite solo record.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think so. Blame the Messenger or that one of those two.
Blame the Messenger.
But I think actually Monster is probably a better record actually.
And sound-wise, it's one of the best.
Well, yeah, but I think it's also, if you're in the mood for it, it is a brilliant record. If you're not, it's like, uh-oh. But, anyway, what are you going to play?
I was actually thinking of playing, to hear Darrow on, the opening track.
My Theory of Spontaneous Similitude.
That's it.
Grind Like a Steel Trap.
That's it. And Red Tin Bus.
Red Tin Bus.
That's the opening one, and Darrow's on it, and you even talked to him on it.
Dedicated as always to Ralph Cramden.
David Thomas and My Theory of Simultaneous...
No, it was a misprint. Sorry to interrupt you again. Spontaneous Similitude. It was misprinted on the jacket there.
I see.
See, Johnny, who's our art designer, has been our art designer from 1977. It's like those Navajos who build in a flaw into the rugs, to not offend the gods.
I thought, no, those are the Persian rugs.
Whoever they do, I'm sorry, whatever. The concept's the same. Johnny always puts in a flaw in the art design, so as not to offend me or something, I don't know. But that's Spontaneous Similitude.
And Red Tin Bus from the record Monster Walks the Winter Lake. It was out, and for all I know, may still be out on the Twin Tone.
Oh, no, it's not out. It's not. Totally disappeared, yes.
Well, forget it. You can't get it anywhere.
Can't get it.
And it included Gary Yellen on cello, who is a current member of Pere Ubu, and Alan Ravenstein, who we talked about before, on the synthesizers, and Tony Maimoni on the upright bass, and David Hild on percussion.
David Hild, who is a genius and used to live in this city, and if you never saw him, you missed a true genius, and I use that word very rarely.
And he did. I think I saw him with you at the Bottom Line once.
May have.
I toured with him a long time
ago.
But
he's just astonishingly brilliant.
Where is he these days?
He's out in Oakland, living in the same building as Ralph Carney, which is a nightmare if you think about it too much, if you know Ralph. He wants me to produce a record for him, and I told him he really doesn't want me to do it because I'm a terrible producer. And he said, well, that's okay. I still want you to do it because I love you, Dave. And I said, oh, you fool. But, whatever.
And Garo Yellen, who was on there, also played with you recently when you were doing a couple of solo concerts at the Knitting Factory. And is that what led him to being in the full-fledged group now?
I don't know what led him. When did we think about this? I don't know. We were thinking the rest of the. I said, let's go out as a 4-piece. The rest of the band got cold feet about that, and so we said, well, who are we going to have in the band? And I was looking out the kitchen window in London, and I thought, wait a minute, Garo Yellen. I think the inspiration was that, you know, a lot of the keyboard stuff parts are called pads, you know, which are just these sort of, what would you call a pad in civilian terms?
Bed.
A bed,
Yeah.
string beds, and I think that's what I thought of at first. I thought, well, if all these synthesizers string beds that we use, why don't we just get a cello player? And then I thought of the viola on the Velvets, and yeah, should work, and it did. Mainly, I thought of the cellos on Electric Light Orchestra.
And you admit to that as well. Although I actually, like their early stuff. I will admit to that. Too.
I once interviewed him. I once interviewed a whole lot of people. No interesting story about the interview. I just stood there and I said, "Hello, Mr. Lynn," and he said, "Yeah."
And you said, "Where's Roy Wood?" And,
The Roy Wood album is good.
yeah.
You know that Vivian was just in the papers against Hanshaw.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's supposedly getting normal still, and the magazine has a feature My Home or something, My Room or something. It was a nightmare.
Actually, all of that Banza Dogman stuff has just been reissued.
Has it?
On CD in England. Yeah.
Cool. Jimmy and I were terribly excited. Speaking of reissues, it's not quite so recent, but I guess it was January. The latest Smile Double CD,
right,
which is stunningly brilliant. You know, I mean, there's been various ones over the years, but
this is the most complete.
Yeah, I really like this one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's a must purchase. You know, and that whole story is you should do a whole special on it.
Yeah, did they try to recreate the original order, I think?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it never really existed, or I read a bunch of things about
Well, the artwork was finished.
The artwork
and
was
somehow they got hold of it.
Oh.
And yeah, I guess the thing was they tried to recreate what was as close as they could get to what
The
it should
running
have
order
been.
and all
Right,
that.
that's the Beach Boys we're talking about, by the way. Yes.
Well, everybody should know that. This is not the Smiley Smile album.
Right.
This is the one that
That
Brian
never
Wilson
came out,
burned,
yes.
and it's the greatest album that's ever been. It's the most important album in rock history. You know, and it truly is. It is. I mean, I think
Maybe
that
musical history.
Musical history.
American history.
American history.
Since Gershwin, I think.
I mean, if you don't understand the story of that album, if you don't understand what happened to Brian Wilson, if you don't understand that whole thing, then you lose the whole point of what rock was supposed to have been and what it should have been and where it should have gone. I've spouted this nonsense, so I'm blue in the face to a fully matured, serious art form that is the poetry and language of the American cultural experience. You know, that carries on the serious efforts of all those great literary figures that, you know, we used to revere in school. You know, so obviously that all got short-circuited, and I really don't want to have to go through all this again.
Right,
So I feel like a pompous old git. You know.
One thing about Story of My Life that struck me immediately, you know, you listen to that first song and say, you know, new Pere Ubu record, you put on something that's melodian in voice up until the very end. It's like the least commercial thing you could possibly do to open a record on a new label. And
record company loved it. They were going to put it out as a single until they got some sense or something, or something. Not that. I mean, we said, well, what's going to be the single? And they said, oh, we're pretty sure we're going to go with Wasted. And we thought, wow, there's something wrong here. You know, because we originally thought that, you know, because they were Margo was very excited to have us and really keenly sought after us. And we thought, boy, there's something wrong with these people. You know, why are they so enthusiastic for us? You know, why do they like us? You know. And we thought, gee, there's something wrong here. Then we finally discovered that it was run by an Englishman, and since we'd only ever been signed to English labels and never had an American label that wanted us, it all sort of became clear then.
Well, but, I mean, Blank was an American label, though.
Yeah, but Blank, it doesn't really count because Blank was Cliff Bernstein's,
right,
you know, private label. I mean, what happened is that Cliff Bernstein, who was head of A&R at Mercury, had called us up and said, he'd found Streetwaves in a record shop in 1977 in Chicago, and he called us up and he said, I love you guys, but my record label is terrible, and I'm not going to sign you to it, which was Mercury Records, surprise, surprise. And, ironically, rather. And, but he said, you know, call me sometime if anybody ever calls you about anything. So, Chrysalis Records, strangely enough, which was Terry Ellis's record label, called us, and I called Cliff, and I said, well, they want to sign us. And he said, all right, don't do anything. Just don't do anything. I'll call you back in 3 days. So in the 3 days, he set up blank because he wanted to do the record, you know, and so that's not really, I mean, that's just one mad person with a vision, you know, that doesn't count.
Madly promoting Metallica these days.
Well, Cliff is a great person. I mean, I'm very fond of him, and he's a very talented fellow. I mean, he's Mr. Heavy Metal. I mean, he has a bunch of those groups, Def Leppard, and all that stuff.
Well, let's hear Wasted.
The only good story about Wasted is that I was on the plane with the producer, Al Clay, coming from London, and to do the session, and he said, I'd kind of played him the tapes of the songs, and then I said, well, I got a song, you know, and I played him the tape, and it was just the first bit of it, you know, just the accordion in my voice. And you know how when you play something for somebody for the first time, you kind of begin to realize its faults. You know, I was thinking, you know, gee, the music doesn't change. It's just 3/4 pa pa, and just these two verses. And so, as he was getting toward finishing the second verse, I just said, well, then a lot of stuff happens all of a sudden there. You know, like, yeah, there's a lot of, everybody comes in. It's really loud, and then it stops. Totally uninteresting story, but.
And that's the way you did it.
That's how we did it. Boy, I'm boring today. Go ahead, play this song. This is a song called Friends of Stone. It's about winter, Cleveland, coming home, all that sort of stuff. I think it's the last Cleveland song I wrote, probably the last Cleveland song ever I write, because Cleveland is now just like every other city. It's got a bunch of skyscrapers, and everybody's going, oh, it's got skyscrapers, and all the flats have been changed from lonely, lost warehouses to places, bars, where thousands of people come down every night of the week and drink until they're silly and stupid and puke in the streets. And it's got a Galleria like everybody else, and it's got a new stadium like everybody else, and it's just like everybody else now. It's not like it used to be dark, mysterious, and lost. But this is about the song. There's one other little joke item one item I wanted to mention is that, and now also, of course, it's got the hideous Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which we were really hoping they wouldn't build, which is another total embarrassment that nobody in Cleveland wants. Please, people, understand, we are embarrassed by this Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We tried to trade it to Jacksonville, Florida for a bridge or anything, you know, a plastic wading pool. We didn't care, but they wouldn't trade for it. So now we got it, and we hate it. Thank you.
Love a friend made of stone. Love a friend made of stone. Braving a big blue alone, alone. Braving a big blue alone. Braving a big blue alone. Winter's on fire, windows on fire. That's how we welcome winter home. Now that's how we welcome it home. Cross the blue rock and ice, cross the blue rock and ice. Lightning and sunsets abound, abound. Lightning and sunsets abound. Lightning and sunsets abound. Faces aglow, faces aglow. That's how we welcome winter home. That's how we welcome it home. A really wonderful lead part goes in here, but my other hand is holding the box here, and just imagine it in your head. It's better that way. Think about that Canadian wind.
rendezvous with the Erie View Tower. And when you go down there, you park your car out when there's 2 foot of snow falling. It has to be after 2 in the morning, and you roll the windows down. The police pass by, and they don't worry. They know. They know why you're there. There's a lot of us there. Listening to the song the Erie View Tower sings. Sing the songs of long nights. Sing the songs of long nights. Wait till the strangers go home, go home. Wait till the strangers go home. Whistling them songs at home and on and on. Needless to learn the songs that call from the heart of the wind. Oh, yes. Call from the heart of the wind. Call from the heart of the wind. I kept the time going through that talkie bit pretty well. I thought that was all right.
Yeah. David Thomas on Melodian. Live in the studio here. And I have to thank you guys for coming down and play.
Our pleasure as usual.
And we really appreciate it.
Next time we'll have to learn some even more songs, because now we definitely used up everything we know.
You mean we can't get like a final one with Jim?
You really pushing it. All right, well, Jimmy said, what could we do? We haven't done that. We'd be totally bored with. What are you about to do here?
I'm just about to let my hands fall somewhere and see what happens.
Okay, you go ahead. I'll follow in there. Okay, let's try this. I'll do the same thing. We'll see whose hands fall somewhere and what happens. Huh? What? Oh, coffee train? All right. You gonna play it? You get your slide out. All right, fine. We'll do the coffee train. What do we care? It's not our radio station. This is It makes me desperate. It makes me weird. It makes me desperate. It makes me weird. Coffee. Coffee. Get on board. Not the love train. Not the mystery train. Not the little train that thought it could. Coffee train. The coffee train. And I feel the train coming. I feel fuzzy. I feel fuzzy. Fuzzy. here. Does it? Oh. That was a nice version of that. I'd like a tape of that one. That was all right.
We'll make you a tape of it. David Thomas and Jim Jones doing Coffee Train. And if you find that same David Thomas record we talked about before, Monster Walks the Winter Lake, you can find that there as well. Thanks again for playing all these songs. You did 5 songs in the studio, and that's great. 5 songs you didn't do last time. I don't think you did any of those last time.
Good.
So.
Well, we dodged another bullet. That's what we like to do.
That's right.
Now we're totally done, so just don't ever ask us back. I mean, please, because we'll say, "Oh, okay, we'll do it," and then we'll show up here and.
Well, if we wait 2 years again, we could.
It takes me a long time to do accordion songs, but okay.
Or we could get like Garrow in or something. Who knows?
Okay, yeah, that'd be an idea.
Or next time you do some solo stuff, get you in and do some of that kind of thing.
What, for free?
Oh, it's Pacifica Radio.
How about listener subscription or something?
That's right.
Send in a quarter.
We'll give you a free subscription, David.
Oh yeah, thanks.
David Thomas and Jim Jones are members of the group Pere Ubu, whose new record is Story of My Life on Imago Records. And you'll be playing at Central Park Summer Stage on July 31st at 3 in the afternoon. It's free. So
cheapskate.
See Pere Ubu, and you could get to pay for them next time they're in town at a regular rock club. They're gritting their teeth. And I'd like to thank Spider Blue Rider for engineering.
Thank you, Spider.
You did a great job.
Thank you to Maxine for
That's right.
atmosphere, silent coffee, train driving.
And thank you guys for playing and for being willing to talk with us about all the things that you do.
Well, thank you, Edward, for allowing us to talk about all the things we do.
I think we've had enough.
Help me.
Let's close the show with Story of My Life. That song, which ultimately created the title of the record. What do you think?
About it?
Closing the show.
Oh, yeah, if you want to. It's your show.